Welcome back to the Cyclist Magazine Podcast. I'm your host, James Spender, and joining me down the line is Will Strickson, who looks like he's just eaten something hot or he's found something funny. I don't know what it is, but he's giggling like a little school child. How are you doing, Will?
I'm good. Sometimes, it just gets you. But it's been, we're recording this at the end of a week. Spoiler.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you got to let it go.
You got to let it go. It's been a long week. It has been a long week. It's true.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in Switzerland this week. Big disappointment for me. I was supposed to be up the Furka Pass today, which made famous, of course, by James Bond, by Sean Connery, by Goldfinger. Everybody knows that. You're not allowed to like James Bond anymore. I still do. Sorry. And you're not supposed to be. You are going. But you're supposed to be up a certain number of passes, which you will not be going to because of snow. Because you're going to Italy next week, aren't you?
Actually, that's not why they closed, James. Sorry.
Oh, is it not? Oh,
no, sorry to
My
burst
bad.
your weather bubble. It has been snowing in the Dolomites. They got the first snow. It was a lot of snow. But they're closed. One of them's closed for military exercises, and the other one is closed for road maintenance, I believe.
Really?
Which are the Fedaya and the Valparola.
Couldn't they have combined them and got the military to fix the roads and thus completing some form of exercise?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been quicker. Well, you're lucky because I rode up Fedaya, and I've got to say, it's just an absolute bastard of a climb. Climbs are weird because sometimes climbs are hard because they're really steep, sometimes they're hard because they're really long, and other times they're hard because they're just really they have no sense of rhythm whatsoever. It's like every time you get into a groove, something changes. So you start off the Fedaya and it's just this like one really long grind that lasts like way over a K, which looks like it's flat, but it's not. And then you go up what feels like a bunch of car park ramps. But anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you this because you're not going to do it. So lucky you, although unlucky because it is also a lovely climb too. It's where apparently Pantani announced himself to the peloton by just being completely amazing while everyone was blowing out their bums.
It's also where Jai Hindley secured his Giro d'Italia win.
Jai Hindley, one of the nicest, the sweetest name in cycling. What a lovely name Jai Hindley is. Bollywood actor, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's a shame for me, and that's a lovely thing for you. Although partial shame not doing the Fedaya, but I think you're probably doing some other amazing.
You can only do so many. There's loads of them. You can't do them all. It's not Pokemon.
Got to catch them all. Yes, but the scene of the Maratona Dolomiti, isn't it? So there's a lot of hard riding around there.
Yeah.
Sellers, Rondas, Passos, Jows, Podois.
Yeah, which sounds like a bouncy thing.
It does, doesn't
Podoi.
it? It's like podoi. It's like a very onomatopoeic word to describe the movement of a bouncy ball. Anyway, well, that's lovely. I'll tell you what else is lovely. The guest that we've got today, he's more than lovely. He's downright amazing, and I can't believe we managed to get an interview with him. And I'm very sorry, Will, that I did it without you.
It just happens sometimes, doesn't it?
It does just happen sometimes, doesn't it? Which is a shame because it's kind of like meeting, well, not kind of like, it was like meeting a hero. The guy I watched all this year, there's still more racing to come from him. It's Tadej Pogačar. I was glued to the Tour de France this year, as loads of people were. And what an amazing year he had. He kicked it off with a few little wins. Liège, Strade Bianche, Volta a Catalunya, why not? But then got hard into the Grand Tours, won the Giro on his first attempt ever. He's been racing Grand Tours since 2019. First time he's ridden the Giro d'Italia, and he wore the pink jersey from stage 2, I think, all the way to the end, and he won with a margin of nearly 10 minutes, which by my maths / asking ChatGPT means that it was the biggest winning margin in 59 years, which is just insane. And then 33 days later, he's back at the Tour de France. He is trying to go get one back on super rival Jonas Vingegaard, and he does in fine style. 6 more stages, absolutely dominates in the high mountains, wins by nearly 7 minutes, kills the last time trial. It's just an amazing year and an amazing performance. And in so doing, he becomes only what will it be? He's the first person since Marco Pantani to win the Giro Tour double. I think there's only 7 people that have ever done that. He is the 7th. And he might just become the 3rd person to win the Triple Crown since Stephen Roach in 1987, Eddie Merckx in 1974. Those are facts I looked up independently, actually, not using AI. So they're definitely true. Do you think he's going to do it, Will, in September? Well, we are in September, in a few days' time.
Yeah. Do you want to know something else that's interesting? In fact, there's a little quiz for you. Mm-hmm. So this week, this is a little hint, a little bit plug, on cyclist.co.uk, we published an article, which bike, we do this every year, which bike brands, group sets and wheels won the most at Grand Tours in 2024. So totting up stage win totals. And obviously they didn't win, they didn't do the race, blah, blah, but they were ridden to victory, so get over it. Can you guess the top 3 bike brands?
Specialized Tarmac.
Correct. It's number 1.
Colnago V4 RS, whatever it's called.
Correct. And there's one stage win between them, despite the fact that Specialized, and this is men's and women's, Specialized sponsor, how many is that? 4 teams.
Wow.
And Colnago just have the 2 UAE teams, and there was only 1 win from the women's team.
So that is Colnago number 1. Is there another you're about to surprise me and say it was neither Specialized nor Colnago that's number 1?
No, Specialized was 1, 17 wins.
Yep.
Colnago was 2, 16 wins. Number 3 was Canyon, 10 wins.
Very good. And the group set, I'm assuming, is the big S?
Which, both S, but yeah, correct. SRAM was actually down on last year slightly. Shimano 62 wins to SRAM's 25. But if you separate it, SRAM's got significant foothold in the women's peloton.
Significant. And wheels?
Wheels. So this is interesting. It's a 3-way tie.
Whoa.
For first place.
Zip.
17 wins. Not Zip.
Envy?
Correct.
Specialized. Obviously, Roval.
Yeah. You got 2.
Karima, some left field.
Shimano.
Well, okay, fair enough. Shimano also make wheels. I don't think they're very good wheels.
Envy.
Yeah.
Also, that's Pogačar's wins again. So Envy's wheels are all UAE wins, which is obviously largely Pogačar because he's got 12 and total 17. And one little one from little Anthony Turgis on Total Energies, because obviously they ride Envy bikes, so they have the full pop.
Full Henry kit and caboodle. Well, that is very interesting. Guess what? I didn't ask Pogačar about any of that stuff. We did talk about his training, and we did talk about how he feels about being called the GOAT, the greatest of all time. But we also talked about his charitable, they're easy for me to say, charitable endeavours, which is kind of what led us to be able to have this interview at all. So he was over in Switzerland previewing recceing the World's Course, but he was also there with the charity PlumeStrong that he is an ambassador for, doing one of the legs of their 5-stage fundraising ride, which was the PlumeStrong Cycling Challenge 2024, which finished up in Venice, I think, and went over some of the passes that you're going to do in Italy, Will. So, it's not for the faint-hearted. And I think they're pretty much on course to have raised their $1 million target, which is going to be spent by PlumeStrong and the charity they partner with, Street Child, on building schools, 15, I think, in Sierra Leone in rural communities. So it's an amazing cause. Kind of amazing to me that there is enough time in Pogačar's day to be able to do this sort of thing. But also I think it's brilliant that he finds time to do that, because that's what you should be doing with your fame, really, helping other people. And also, hopefully, finding a few little minutes to talk to a little cycling podcast about what makes you tick. So thank you very much to Tadej for the time, but also thank you hugely to PlumeStrong. And also, I should say, towards the end of this episode, we'll also have a short interview with Plume's founder, Fahri, who is a keen cyclist, tech entrepreneur, set up the company Plume. PlumeStrong is their charitable arm. And Fahri and I talk about his love of bikes, where he loves to go riding, but also just how to be an incredibly organised, up-together, highly motivated, successful individual. So it does turn a little bit into the diary of a CEO, but Fahri is he's good crack. So I suggest also giving that your keen ears. But before we get to Fahri, can we introduce none other than Tadej Pogačar. So first question, Tadej, is where are you joining us from? Because I think you're with the Plume guys, right?
Yeah, I'm with Plume guys in Zurich. Today we did a recon of World Championships parcours.
Okay.
And tomorrow, it's a start of first stage of PlumeStrong challenge, and I joined them for one stage, two clusters.
Very nice. So how long is the first stage of the PlumeStrong challenge?
I think it's 165k with I think 2,500 meters elevation, something like this, finishing clusters. So more gain than lose of altitude. So yeah, it's gonna be I think good 5-hour ride, I would say, and I think it's gonna be a nice ride with all the people here.
Excellent. So what attracted you or kind of resonated with you about Plume and PlumeStrong? So PlumeStrong is supporting the charity Street Child this year. So you're building schools, helping to build 15 schools in Sierra Leone. What is it? How did you get involved as an ambassador? Because you are a busy man who is doing a lot of winning in other places. So how do you fit it all in, and why? What drives you to do that?
I don't know. For sure, I want to help people as well, and if I can help in this kind of way, that I'm ambassador for Plume, for a great company with great image. They do really every year. They make a crazy fundraiser and raise a lot of funds, do a lot of good things, and if I can just be ambassador, take my time here and there for them, and help them out a little bit, and make a wider recognition. I'm super happy, and it's not so difficult to do it, even when you're busy. If it's for good cause, for me, this is it's not a problem, and I like to do these kind of things.
And obviously, 165 kilometers, 2,500 meters of climbing. That's like a breakfast ride for you, isn't it?
Well, depends on the pace, how you go. But I think, maybe the first stage we're gonna go a bit faster. They are more fresh, but for sure it's not an easy one. But I think I'm gonna enjoy it with the people here, and catch up with everybody and see how they are, and I think it's gonna be a good day.
Fantastic. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a good day. Tenuous link, but this year for you was just an incredible year. And so often I've heard in connection with your name the term GOAT, greatest of all time. How do you feel when you hear somebody describing you like that?
Well, for sure it's flattering, and but I don't know. You always have people arguing who is the greatest of all time, and I think there's not really anything like to compare to each other throughout hundreds of years of racing. Who is the best? Because the times changes, and maybe you can look over the years in the last decade maybe, but you cannot watch for a whole century, because it's hard to measure who is the greatest. But for sure it's flattering, and I'm pretty happy that I can be on the top of the leaderboard on UCI leaderboard for last 4 years. So I'm super happy, and I just try to do my own thing, and not to think about who is the GOAT or not. But
well, I've done a bit of thinking for you, and this is some very basic maths, but by my reckoning, you've won 4.3 Grand Tour stages every year since 2019. And comparing your age now, so you're going to be 26 in a couple of weeks' time, I think. Eddie Merckx retired at 33, so he's widely considered the GOAT. So if you carry on at that win rate for 8 or 9 more years, you'll be tied on 64 Grand Tour stage wins. So maybe there'll be a point where people are talking about you, like they talked about Cavendish number 35.
Yeah, but it's a long way to go there, and in cycling is so unpredictable. We now the careers, I think we start so early to push so much the body. It's already at 18 years old. Now the guys are coming from juniors, and maybe the career span will be shorter. So yeah, I just think you need to make most of it until the end, how much you can. But to catch those kind of records of Merckx is now I think it's almost impossible, but you never know.
I was going to say, well, almost impossible. It looked that way with Cavendish, but him coming up to you after his stage and saying, Tadej, please don't beat me anytime soon, I think says a lot.
Yeah, me and Mark, we go really well together. He's, I consider him as a friend, almost like a little bit like a mentor. He gives great advice also to me. And I was when he won that stage, I think the whole cycling world was super happy and proud what he achieved. And he had many ups and downs in the last couple of years, but he did it, and he had an extraordinary career. So chapeau to him. He's the GOAT of the sprinting.
Absolutely. Speaking of hard times, your first Tour de France wins, you look absolutely unbeatable. But then the next two, Vingegaard seemed somehow out of reach. How did you manage that going into 2024 mentally? That feeling of, has the pendulum swung the other way? Can it swing back?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I knew after the Giro that I'm in good shape. Feeling comfortable on the bike this year. Change a few things, and also I knew what was wrong in 2022, what was wrong in 2023. There was many factors why it didn't go so smooth. And this year I was, every year I come ready, prepared to 100%. But this year just went everything smooth, and just like you said, it turned into my favorite this year, and I managed to squeeze a win in the end.
When you say you changed some things, what was that in terms of your training and perhaps in terms of your bike setup?
I went bike setup a little bit different this year. I changed the saddle, just different model of Prologo and shorter cranks. So I felt quite comfortable with that, and I do more physical work around the bike, it's not just about what I do on the bike, but just the lifestyle around, and I must say that I improved in that way as well.
How much do you sort of know about the competition going into the first day of the Tour de France? Because obviously we know that Vingegaard has a horrible crash at the Tour of the Basque Country. Do you know what form he's in? Because I think a lot of the commentators were really surprised at how good he was.
Yeah, I think it was a big question mark, but I don't think he would go to Tour de France if he's not in best shape, especially with Jumbo. I mean, Team Visma is a bike. They're really calculated team, I think, and they wanted to have everything planned quite perfectly. Organization on top, they really play with the numbers and everything. So I think they knew that he's in good shape. And I saw this on stage 2 already when we went to San Luca. I think almost half minute faster than in Giro Emilia, for example, in autumn. We do that climb, we beat the record on a short climb for almost 30 seconds, and I was pushing really big watts. So I knew that day, second stage, that he's in really good shape. But I was the same last year. I was pushing good power for a certain time, but 3 weeks is different race. So maybe lack of training before, for sure. At least for me, it was a big factor last year, I think, and it was not ideal for 3 weeks Grand Tour. Even if you can push for 10 minutes, the best power you ever do, no?
Yeah. Do you, looking back at those 3 weeks, where do you see the pivotal moments where you just suddenly thought, okay, this is going to work this year?
I think, just stage before the second rest day on Plateau de Bay. Already one day before, we rode as a team really good through Tourmalet, and I think what was the finish, and I won that stage already, and then the next day was one of the hardest stages of the tour, and Plateau de Bay was there I knew that I can, if nothing goes wrong, I can win the tour in 1 week time. So the last week I was quite relaxed going into the stages.
That's a really good point and a really good word to describe you. I've heard lots of people say it. You're literally the most, I mean, even now, you're like the most relaxed guy, the most relaxed champion. I know lots of people wearing yellow jerseys will say, actually, it's very difficult because you have the media circus around you after every stage. You want to go and rest. You look like you lapped it up, like you not loved the attention, but you enjoyed having those conversations with the journalists afterwards and smiling on the podium. It looked like happy times.
I mean, I hate it, honestly. Hate it, but I got used to it. It's a part. Without journalists and without all the media stuff and podium ceremony, cycling would be basically nothing. And I learned how to deal with everybody, how to deal with podium ceremony, control every day, and it just takes. When you're leader jersey, you have normally around 1 hour delay after the finish. So you just need to make this 1 hour as much as comfortable as you can for yourself, and to eat proper food and stuff like this. And I learned in last couple of years that you just cannot stress about it because there's nothing you can do about it. You can push a little bit, that is faster everything, but it's a part of our circus, media and all this podium after stuff and attention and all this. But I always need to remind myself to stay calm.
Absolutely. Do you have any sort of, just you're speaking about nutrition and a bit of food and stuff there, any get me home snacks where you're just like, if I can get that little can of Coke at the top of this climb, even though there's lots of other things in my musette and my sports nutrition that's so good, that's the thing that kind of helps me, just give me that little sort of the joy almost.
In the race, we used to have like Snicker bars or something, or Mars bar in the musettes, but now thanks to Enervit, we have super good nutrition on the race, and everything is more or less calculated. But we still get now it's really popular, like Rice Krispies. Like Rice Krispies with marshmallow. You make them handmade, and they're really good. And we still get small Cokes in musettes. And if it's super cold, that's really goes down the throat really nice. And also, when it's hot, we have like slushies and frozen kind of gels, like similar to Calipo, but with a sports drink. So those are small things that you can enjoy in the race. But one of the best thing is when you get fresh water over your head or something like this, and
beautiful feeling. It's probably a hard question to answer in terms of the detail, but we often get asked as journalists, how does a day look to you on the bicycle when you're racing as to a professional? And I was thinking that of all the stages, I really enjoyed stage 19 this year, which was a crazy stage, 4,500 meters of climbing, going up the Cime de la Bonnette, which is the highest paved climb, I think, in France. And you just destroyed it, and you just sucked up Matteo Jorgensen with a kilometer to go, beat him by 20 seconds. What went into that? What time did your alarm clock go off in the morning? What are you eating for breakfast? And how does that preparation unfold?
It was just more or less like every day for that stage. It's just one big difference was we were training there before the tour for 3 weeks. So I knew Col de la Bonnette really well. I did it many times, and Isola 2000 every day basically. and it's not so far from where I live. So I really had this stage in my mind since the release of the parcours last year. But yeah, I think more or less it was the same like any other day. Wake up, yeah, I brush my teeth or just go straight to breakfast. It's normally big breakfast with rice porridge or normal porridge with oats, omelette from the chef, piece of bread, freshly made from the chef as well. What else? Yeah, that's more or less it. Some pancakes we have also. And then the ride on the bus to the start, I think, is always around from 30 minutes to 1 hour and a half, maybe. There's the bus drive is quite chill normally. You listen to music or talk to the teammates. It's quite comfortable. You arrive to the start. There's a meeting about the stage. We go through everything, what everybody needs to do, what's the parcours, where is the bottles, where is everything. And yeah, then it becomes a bit more stressful. Everybody start to getting ready. People left, right, searching for sunscreen, cream for the balls, just like everything. Calling the wives last minute or whatever, and then you go to sign on. Like we were normally always the last team, and 15 minutes before, some interviews on the start line. When you finish the race, I had podium 1 hour. That includes two flash interviews for France TV, for Eurosport, maybe another one. Podium ceremony, mix zone. There's like 20 journalists. You speak to them. Then you go to press conference where you speak again to journalists, like for 5-6 questions. Doping control every day for the yellow jersey. You finish podium ceremony around 1 hour to 1 hour 30 after the finish. And then normally is sometimes the bus don't wait for me. I go with a van or something if it's too long of the wait for the guys, or depends how long we ride to hotel. But normally they wait for me because they're nice guys. We ride in the bus to hotel. I actually enjoy that really, really much. And then massage or straight to dinner, depends how late we are, and chill out in the bed as fast as possible.
And I know you said that for example, Col de la Bonnet well. That's something you've recce'd and trained on a lot. How much of a stage like stage 19 is sort of pre-planned? So is there somebody on the radio saying, hey, Tadej, it's been 20 minutes, now you need to have another 60 grams of carbs. Hey, Tadej, the climb is coming up, here's going to be some bonus seconds here. Or is it you're just doing it on kind of feel?
No, it's kind of now it's kind of planned, just like I said before, because nutrition developed so much in the last few years, in the last 4 or 5 years. With Enervit, we have either gels with 30 grams or 40 grams of carbs, and then in the bottle we have either 60 or 30 grams of carbs. And per hour on the stage like this, you need around 120 grams per hour. So you take 160 bottle and 2 gels of 30 grams or something like this, and every 30 minutes you take 1 gel. We know when is the feed zones, when we have extra feed bags or extra bottles of water, and more or less everything is pre-planned. But obviously sometimes somebody needs something and goes back to a car and bring it up to you, and it's quite smooth. Sometimes in those kind of stages can be smooth, but when it's hectic stage and more flat stage or just up and down, left, right, then it's more complicated. But on the big mountain days, it's pretty easy.
And when you're thinking, you've not got more than a kilometre or so to go and you've got a guy up the road, how are you deciding when to go and how hard? Is it you're looking at power numbers and you're thinking, actually, I can see that I've got more in me because this number reads X and I know that I can get to Y? Or again, are you getting screamed at down the radio, go, 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 and you're going, no, I can't do it, and someone's shouting, yes, you can, come on?
Yeah, there's a lot of improvising when it comes to the lead outs on the climb, and you have two guys in front of you, and more time you spend with your teammates, more you know them, and more you know how long they can ride at a certain pace. But then it also varies depends on the day, how they feel, and the communication is super important. And more or less, in our team for Tour de France, we know each other pretty well, and we can have the feeling to which point somebody will ride, and when I can go, and also I know on the feeling already if I can go 4K to go or 3K to go, or if I don't want to try. No, you have this instinct in me, and it goes from stage to stage is different, but you need this animal energy to attack early, or if you're really hungry and you feel like no pain in the legs, and then you can try to attack. But when the legs are in pain and you suffer, then you hope that everybody else suffers well and nobody's gonna attack.
So maybe it's a bit of a painful thing to cast your mind back to, but talking about suffering in 2023 on the Col de la Loze, I've ridden that climb, definitely not as fast as you. It is insanely steep in certain places, punishingly, like it's just like it's a bastard of a climb. And this is off the back of the time trial. And you actually say one of the most amazing lines in cycling, I think, I'm gone, I'm dead. I know that you might not be proud of that in a certain way, but that was such an emotional, honest thing to say. I thought that was an amazing line from a champion. But how did you deal with the mental side of effectively finding yourself broken like that? Because that's a hard place from a cyclist to come back from, especially a champion.
Yeah, for me, it was not that bad. I would pick myself up after quite fast and just go on. But the thing was, people around me, my family, friends, the teammates, you could see it was hard for them as well to see their leader suffering, their friend suffering, their son suffering so much. And it's a brutal climb, and you just go on, and the suffering doesn't end. And my girlfriend just went home that day after the start, and she just arrived home, and she was already thinking to come back to pick me up and bring me home. But I was like, no, it's okay. And people around me, the closest to me, they were kind of really broken, and they felt for me. They were sad for me, but they shouldn't be, and would be easier to pick myself up, I think. But that's how it is now. I'm lucky to have people like this around me that they suffer with me.
How do you manage that kind of responsibility? Because I feel like it must sit on your shoulders. You know that as much as you've got these incredible supporting people, your partner, your family, and your team, and everyone down, to the team chef, the soigneur, that's a lot of people also really needing you, not just wanting you to win. How have you managed to be able to contain that and to still race in a way that you do, which is you race so freely?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. Of course, family and friends, people around me, they want me to win, but they don't create kind of pressure. But the team pays you to win, so that creates more pressure. But it's a good balance and good support. And also, our team is not kind of team that is just go to you and you're not performing, you need to be better or something like this. They help you, they care for you, and it's not like they build up really high pressure on you, and if you fail or something, they will blame you. It's not like this. When I don't win the two Tour de France's in 22 and 23, then we just sit down, we talk what could be better, and it was not a big deal, no. So it's not. I don't feel like super under pressure in this team.
Do you have kind of sports psychologists around the team that you guys ever speak to?
We are trying, but it's not going so well. I think a lot of riders would think if they speak to psychologist that is set up from the team, then all information would go to the boss or somebody. But I think it's quite important that now a lot of riders would need mental support, I think. And but for me, it's good. I have Urshka next to me. She's my mental support. But a lot of now in these days, mental preparation should be quite important for cycling.
Have you, I mean, in a sense, kind of always been like this? As a 14-year-old, were you also equally chill and relaxed and quite cool about stuff?
I don't even remember that much. I live in the moment, and I think everything passed so fast around me that if you ask me now where I was when I was 14 years old, I don't even remember. So, but I think I was. I always tried to just live in the moment around my friends, family, and have a good time. Playing video games at home and just doing my own stuff. It was not nothing crazy.
How important do you think it is for the sport to have a rivalry like you have with Jonas, which is shaping up to be an incredible one? You know, in the Fausto Coppi, Gino Bartali sort of like proper rivalry, not just a flash in the pan.
I think it's quite good to have rivalries like this. Also, like Van der Poel against Wout van Aert, it creates such a big image in cycling, and it pushes us each other to go over the limits and find new ways how to beat the other, and train harder, and we have this drive just to beat each other. But I think also it's good we have a quite good relationship against all the competitors. I don't think there is a lot of hate around the competition in pro cycling peloton, which is good, and there's a lot of respect. So I think we have a quite healthy rivalry between each other.
I was going to say, it strikes me that although you're beating all of your colleagues so, by so much, so often, you're an incredibly well-liked rider. Is that a strange kind of balance where you're like, these are my friends, and they, I like the fact that we like each other. I'm sure you probably get on quite well with Jonas, but at the same time, the sport is designed to put you head to head in quite an aggressive way.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, you're also in competition with your brother or sister and your best friend. You always want to beat each other. So, I think now it should be the same. We should be just playing this game, cycling, and be happy that we're paid good money to win races and compete against each other. So, there's no reason to risk anything, to be aggressive too much, and risk your own career to I don't know. So I think that's quite important to have this in mind, and to be friendly with everybody, because why would I wouldn't get it if I couldn't stand one guy in the peloton. It would be bothering me and maybe not bothering him. So it's your loss.
Absolutely, very philosophical way of looking at it. Do you feel like next season Remco might be added into the mix and you'll have a three-way rivalry? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Remco showed this year the Tour de France already that he's capable of doing Grand Tour really well. He's one of the best cyclists in the world. He surprises every time with the Olympics then after the Tour. So, he grew up a lot. There was a lot of pressure, I think, in the first few years for him. But now I think he settled in and he can grow as a cyclist. And yeah, I can see him winning another Grand Tour pretty soon. And yeah, it's big potential for Tour de France.
Do you feel like there could be a possibility that ASO, who are in charge of the tour, would make a course a bit like we had in the UK for Bradley Wiggins in 2012? That was a course designed for Wiggo to be able to win because it was very time trial heavy. Do you think that could be something that the ASO would do for Remco, who's you're an incredible time trialist, but he's also an excellent time trialist?
I mean, if they have some good intern friendship, maybe they would design course for him. But yeah, I don't see the reason ASO would do anything like this. But I think there's just question how soon it's gonna be again team time trial in the tour. I think it can be pretty soon, and otherwise there's not much you can do really on the 3 weeks Grand Tour. There is more or less always quite similar the routes. So yeah, I think it's always you need to be versatile and good in each way, and be good in time trial, being good in the climbs, and be sneaky on sprints days and win crosswinds, and it's always more or less similar. It's France, you cannot do much. It's always hard.
And be good at gravel, which is something that you are too. And I think a lot of people were saying, why have they chucked this gravel stage in, which was stage 9, I think. And you took it in your stride. You seem to be able to be amazing on terrain like that.
Yeah, they spice it up. They try to spice it up here and there with cobbles or gravel stages, which I prefer much more, gravel stage or cobble stage, than just crosswind stage where it's gonna be 30 km per hour wind all day, and that's a bigger chaos than gravel stage or cobblestone stage. So, but it creates some dynamic, some negative energy also in the peloton, I think, but it's part of the modern cycling. I think they try to implement those kind of things and see if they work, but it just can suck for individual if he has a bad luck. So that's what nobody wants, to finish the tour with bad luck.
Yeah. And last question from me is, I'm sure you get asked this a lot of the time, and it's a really difficult one to answer. How does it feel to win? And I was thinking some really good quotes from other cyclists that I've heard over the years. Robert Miller said that when you're climbing really well, it's like a spiritual sensation. And I think Merckx kind of famously said that winning is like a mixture of relief and elation. How does it feel for you to climb like an angel, to win by 7 minutes and nearly 10 minutes?
I would always put a sprint win above coming solo in terms of adrenaline, and this when you cross the line in the bunch sprint and win, then the adrenaline is super high. The emotions are super high. Everything comes in instinct, and you can be everything just go out of you, and you can be so happy. But when you already know, like for few K or 10K, 20K that you're gonna win, it's good, but you're gonna win, so it's not the same. You don't have this adrenaline. But when you cross the finish line, I think even with when you have a big lead, maybe kind of relief for sure as well. But just you're more happy in general, but maybe you don't show it as if you win the sprint.
And then you realise you've got to go and talk to all the journalists afterwards in a yellow jersey, and you just go, why did I win?
You can already think about this 20K if you're solo. 20K. 20K, you're thinking, then I have this and this to do, and but no, it's not so bad.
Well, Tadej, thank you so much for talking to this journalist coming on the podcast. And yeah, enjoy tomorrow's ride with PlumeStrong heading out from Zurich. Sounds like a good one. Don't hurt them too much when you're out there at the front, showing them who's boss.
I won't. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Tadej Pogačar, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. What an honour to speak to him. And now, without further ado, can I introduce the CEO, founder, and all-round amazing bloke and top rider, PlumeStrong's founder, Plume's founder, Fahri Diner.
How can I follow? I listened to your interview with Tadej. I was in the room. It's hard to follow such a champion and with his humility. Think about it. I mean,
yeah,
I think the world has picked up on this, James, but it's clearly a champion. GOAT or not, that's an independent question.
Yeah.
But his humility is inspiring to my company. And these are some of the values that we're trying to instill. And his just natural, genuine nature is very powerful as a human being, not just as a champion.
Absolutely. So. Well, that's a good way into this. How did your paths cross? Because, yeah, Tadej is a champion. And as we spoke about, that makes for a very busy person who's often potentially all their free time is taken up with other endeavors, other sponsorship deals, being ambassadors for other things, or just they need their own free time. How did your paths cross? And when was the first project that you guys worked together on?
We met him in 2021. We started the PlumeStrong initiative in 2020 during COVID. We were trying to be healthy and active and eat well, sleep well, exercise, etc., because nobody knew anything about this virus, right? And then in 2021, we decided to internally, it was just a bunch of us, fairly informal, decided to come up with this cycling challenge. It really was an internal thing. Our company is a tech company. We are based out of Silicon Valley. We're a later stage a technology company. But our we're very much an international, global business. And we have not only business, but also people all around the world. And our largest presence, actually, even though we're headquartered in the US, in Silicon Valley, our largest presence is in Europe. And our European headquarters is in Ljubljana, in Slovenia. So we have strong Slovenian connections and DNA. It's part of a lot of Slovenians in our company. So we met Tadej late in 2021 after we did the initial PlumeStrong challenge, and talked to him about supporting us, maybe becoming an ambassador, riding with us. We thought he would be inspiring and so on. And here we are. We are obviously quite lucky. He resonated with our cause. He has his own initiatives in helping people in and around sort of where we work, where we live, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how it all started. And Tadej's been a massive inspiration for my team, for me personally, and also for my team.
And so this year, PlumeStrong is looking like it's a 5-stage ride. It's going to be 870 odd, I think, kilometers, 15,000 meters climbing. You go over it, your face is already going from a smile to being like, oh yeah, that is what we decided to do. That's quite a lot. You're going over the Stelvio, the Pordoi, a couple of other big notable climbs.
Zoncolan.
Have you ridden the Zoncolan before?
I have ridden the Zoncolan this year from the other side. We're going to be going in from the other side this year. No, I'm very familiar with the course because every year we crank it up a little bit, and I'm the one who sort of
turns the dial,
terrifies people with cranking it up. And this year, I mean, it's almost more than 15,000 meters of climbing across 5 days, 160, 170 kilometer stages. If you look at the way we designed it, with this kind of roughly 2% average across, it looks very much like what they do in World Tours. We do it a lot slower, obviously, but the challenge is somewhat equivalent, and people train for it. It's really good.
So how many people will be on the ride this year?
Tomorrow we kick off with roughly 55, maybe 60 people. we also invite, it's not just for people from Plume, but also our partners, customers, etc. Bunch of people are joining only for tomorrow, but the rest of us, about 40, 45 people, will do all 5 stages.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is a big day, partially because Tadej is here. He's only riding in stage 1, so people want to ride together with Tadej. So finishing the cross line in Venice will be, I'm guessing, 40-something people, 45 people maybe.
Nice. So what was the inspiration for you and the company to actually start PlumeStrong? I know you said it came up out of COVID. You're talking about, being healthier for yourselves, but it's still like a massive thing for a business such as yourself to take. You started a whole other business on the side of the business, but it's a charity endeavor. What was the inspiration for that? And have you ever kind of thought, blimey, this is an awful lot of work. Why have we done this?
Listen, first, it has zero profit element.
Yeah.
So Plume, our company is plume.com.
Yeah.
We're there to make money for our investors and stuff, and we do it through what we do, the products we build and the customers we sell to and all that kind of stuff. Very much a capitalistic endeavor, if you know what I mean. We've raised a lot of money. We're kind of a high-flying company and as a private company. But what's really inspiring and unifying for our people is to also do good, not just be successful, but be good. So we've said jokingly, we want to be the goodest company. And doing good not only helps people around us, there are a lot of, all of us in our world, we're kind of living in the la land, I like to say. There are a lot of people with needs. It's a very unifying experience who shape who we are in the company. And it's inspiring, it's motivating. And I want, our people to love this company, not just work here. And I would submit to you, most of our people love being at Plume. And PlumeStrong, by way of how we help people around us who need things that we have and sometimes take for granted, is very unifying, and it's part of makes us who we are. And also the challenge itself is challenging. This is not a walk in the park, and it also helps all of us build discipline. You have to have courage to attempt something like this. You have to be committed to it. And all of that to me is good and good. There's really no downside. So we came up with this idea after COVID. We said, let's just ride from Zurich to Ljubljana. That was the original route. Then the following year, we did a tour of Switzerland. We cranked it up a little bit in distance and elevation. Last year, we did these phenomenal climbs. We rode from Zurich to Nice, a lot of the famous climbs in France. And this year, it's the other side, Dolomites. We go from here to Venice, and we will do day 2 is Stelvio. Then we do Pordoi, some of the sell around. I was there training like about a month ago. It's just beautiful places.
Yeah.
We do Zoncolan, drop down into San Daniele, and then day 5 is kind of it'll be a fast stage, I think, on day 5, right into Venice.
Nice.
There's a few climbs there too.
And over the course of that time, you've raised a phenomenal amount of money. I think it's $1.3 million and counting. And yet this year, where is that money going to go to?
Last year, the money went to building a high school in the earthquake-impacted area in Turkey. You might remember southeast part of Turkey, they had these 2 massive earthquakes in one night. One of these cities, Adıyaman, was completely destroyed. So we're building the high school in Adıyaman right now. We donated about 550,000 euros to that, but other people matched it, and we also got some money from local people in Turkey. So that feels really, really good. That school will be finished this year, this quarter actually, in Q4. Sorry. This year, through our partners at Street Child has been phenomenal partners for us. They are an organization that do wonderful things. We've been partnering with them for, since the beginning, really. The idea is to build secondary education centers in Sierra Leone. They are very well connected to Sierra Leone. And you see that a lot of people, like in Africa, when they raise money, it's just this kind of, when they think of kids, they think of the really young kids, elementary school and so on. Then what happens? A lot of these girls and so on they go elementary school, and then, I don't know, they get married and become moms at an early age. So we're really trying to, together with Street Child, whose founders will be here tonight with us, really want to kind of kick that in. And we resonate with this cause, and children's education has been one of our key pillars, and we're going to keep pushing.
Now, this is a question that's just occurred to me off the back of what you're saying, so it might sound a bit left field, but just thinking about, I know that the area that Plume, the company, is involved in is all to do with connectivity, Wi-Fi, cloud-based, and you can, and in a minute I'll ask you to elucidate on that, because that's already a terrible synopsis, and I think you can do much better than I. But with that in mind, how important being interconnected has become to, the species human, is there a way of not, is the next step, it's not just building schools, it's helping to connect, because these are schools in rural Sierra Leone, it's helping to connect people somehow in those communities, because it almost feels like the world accelerates away at the sharp end with technology, because it can connect with each other so easily and talk with each other and develop ideas. And that leaves people in poorly connected areas, or no sort of connection to social media or the internet, for example, at all, or even more kind of on the back foot in terms of everyone else kind of racing to the front. And so, as I say, a bit of a left field question, but is there in Silicon Valley, do you guys look at the way that you could help kind of with infrastructure in developing nations like Sierra Leone, as well as with solid bricks and mortar infrastructure?
You bet. So there are two elements. Connections and connectivity is what we do in our day lives. Now, when you look at underprivileged people, underprivileged communities, my belief, and I think we all resonate around it. A lot of underprivileged people essentially don't have a voice. Think about it. They're just, nobody hears them because they don't have a platform on which they can, tell their cause and all of that. They don't have a voice. And the belief is the reason they don't have a voice is via lack of education. Education, maybe you start a business, maybe you're lucky enough to go to another country and immigrate and do wonderful things. I'm an immigrant. I was an immigrant in the US and so on, and many people are in our. So we're trying, by PlumeStrong, we're trying to give them a voice, and via Plume, we're trying to connect them. Yes, we are very much active. Part of our initiative in the company is a device level framework that we put into like Wi-Fi routers and stuff like this. And we open sourced it. It's an open source. It's something that we used to sell. In 2018, we open sourced it. What that means is it's free. The code is available. Anybody can download it. They can improve the code, contribute it back to the community. And some of these, this open source software is actually going into Facebook, has been using this in one of their initiatives. It's going into routers and Wi-Fi access points and all of that. That's intended for these types of communities. So one of the things we did was just to say, you know what, it's free, it's open, we want people to be connected. It also helps us from a .com perspective, because anything that has this piece of software in it can be directly connected to our cloud. But this software also allows any of these access points to connect to anybody else's cloud. So our contribution there, if you from this angle that you stepped into, is really by making some of our significant part of our technology free and open and available to anybody.
Yeah.
And these communities need education. They want freedom. Their currencies are not worth anything. We, in the Western world, there are only about 1 billion people in the world, I don't know if you knew, out of about 8 billion, whose currencies are actually fairly stable and have value outside. There's more than 7 billion people who have currencies when they leave their country. It's not worth anything, right? So we're a tech company, and there's blockchain and Bitcoin and stuff like this. There are a lot of things that's gonna evolve out of this, just to give people a voice and a little more power. So that's, it makes all of us feel like there's a meaning and purpose on what we do, both on the connectivity and education side.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. And obviously, bringing this back to PlumeStrong, you have to generate awareness, not just money for that, which is brilliant because that's what PlumeStrong's doing to support those agendas. But also just thinking back to you, the individual, you've got an awful lot on your plate because you've got to go and do these rides. When we were chatting just very briefly before, you said, you were a pretty keen cyclist already. How do you manage to fit doing the rides, getting over to Italy, getting over to the Dolomites, into working on these pretty like Leviathan projects as well? Do you sleep at all? Are you one of those guys that can only use like 4.5 hours sleep and he's just high functioning?
I need a solid 8 hours of sleep every night. You have to integrate all of this into your life. Mm-hmm. In Silicon Valley and in other places, people have spoken. There's this concept of work-life balance. It's a concept I do not understand. The meaning, I know what it's trying to mean, but you have to integrate your work, your life, your being healthy is, for me, that the boss of the company being healthy and have clarity of his thoughts because he's getting oxygen in his brain is valuable for the company, our customers, our investors, and everyone. So I am trying to encourage this with other people. Yeah, going on a couple of hour bike ride on a Tuesday morning, early in the morning before things start. Yeah, I think that's beneficial. So it's a choice you have to make. But we're living and working 24/7, it feels like, but sleep is important, eating is important. And as a technology company, I wake up every day, there's gazillion emails, right? And you can easily get sucked into answering emails. Before you know it, it's been 4 hours. You have done no work, really.
Yeah.
Other people are controlling my time by telling me that I need to respond to something. So thinking time is encouraged, and it's encouraged whether it's on a bike, on a run, on a swim in our company. And we have about 400 people, and many, many people are active. Out of the 400 people in the company, 30-ish people are riding in this PlumeStrong challenge. That's a fairly high percentage, I think, for many.
Oh wow! Yeah, no, that is really high percentage. What you said then reminds me of. I'm sure as a cyclist you're familiar with the clothing brand Rafa, and having interviewed Simon Mottram, and he explained that he'd go out on a ride, and riding for him was problem solving, because he'd go out with the problems and he'd come back, and he might not even have a solution, but he would have a kind of a way of seeing the problem that maybe was had less stress attached to it and anxiety, and more sort of hope, I suppose. Like it didn't feel like a dead end anymore. Is that how it kind of works for you?
Do you know who Dr. Phil is?
I have heard it. Dr. is. I mean, this is a cultural thing, right? Dr. Phil's an American. Yeah. Explain.
Dr. Phil's an American psychologist or something. So we call it in the US. There's a jargon. You kind of have it. Your Dr. Phil moment.
Right.
All that means is you're kind of, I don't know. When I go on a ride, I have my Dr. Phil moments, meaning the problems that you attack at the beginning of the ride, when you come back, I think it's because oxygen is going to your brain or what have you. It never feels as bad. And the other side also happened, which is kind of grounds you a little bit. Dr. Phil, sometimes in our company, in the technology world, you wake up one day, you feel like you're conquering the world. It's, that's it. The world is your oyster. Another day, I wake up and I go, oh my God, everything is going wrong and this is all going to implode and yada, yada. You have these highs and lows. Going on a bike ride for me personally kind of clips the highs and the lows. You realize when you're feeling really good, things are not really that good. You know what I mean? But when you're down, it's not that bad. And it's a personal thing for me. Mm-hmm. It's very helpful. And of course, we're all victims of our own experiences. Mm-hmm. And, I learn things over time and, I'm trying to sort of share my experiences, and maybe it'll be helpful for somebody else at Plume or some other person around me. So whether it's cycling or swimming or running, what have you, just exercise is one of the dimensions of what feels like perpetual energy.
Yeah. Do you, I'm not sure quite how true it is, but there's a wonderful stat that a car can go something like 10 miles on a yogurt cup full of petrol, and a human can go something like 500 miles on the same amount of, stored energy. So, yeah. So it's just, as you say, it almost feels like it's kind of giving you energy by the process of like how efficient a bike is, I feel, but also, detaching you from those problems so you can meet them in a different way or get that different perspective. But just then you're saying, you'd like to share this with people. Can you share some tips with me on how, so I work from home pretty much every single day. I'm in the study/spare room at the moment. I love riding. I get to do it for a living in some senses. I'm a cycling journalist. I find it so hard to not get sucked into those 4 hours of emails, to be able to down tools at lunchtime, to be able to go and ride. The discipline I find really difficult around keeping those parts of the day available and maybe sacred for exercise. Have you got any sharp tips and tricks for someone that's so ill-disciplined as I?
Make it a priority and block your calendar, whether it's to yourself or there may be other people in and around you who see your calendars. Block it out, make it a priority. Second, we're all humans. It's easy to kind of say, oh, it's kind of raining outside, or I've got too much to do. Set a goal. I recommend one, specific one. PlumeStrong Cycling Challenge 2025.
Fantastic.
Will help you deal with that. Or you can think of it as an experiment, James.
Absolutely, and give us a vague heads up of where you'd like Plume to go in 2025, having done so much of France and Switzerland, and going into the Dolomites this time.
We're going to be in Europe, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some talk. Some people have been sort of campaigning to me to maybe take it to the US and so on. I think we're going to keep it in Europe. That's for sure. It'll be challenging. But I'm going to save the details to late. But let's finish 2024 first. I'm also a very superstitious person. I don't want to jinx anything until we get to our Friday night party in Venice. Then we will talk about it. But you will be invited.
Fantastic. And last question, looking back over your career as co-founder of Plume, and looking back over your career as a cyclist and a lover of endurance sports, can you give me two kind of comparable highlights from each one? What have been those two highs from the business side, and what might match those two highs from the cycling side?
One high on the business side was I've been in this sort of telecommunications, fiber optics and all that world for many, many years. My gray hairs sort of give that away. Plume is not the first company I started. When we sold our last technology company, certainly that was a high. That provided a lot of freedom for me. That was, after that, and it, the life sort of took a different perspective. That's sort of one high on the business side. Second high on the business side, to be completely transparent, is Plume. It's my this is part of who I am. It's not just what I do. And I love this company. I'm committed to this company. Our people around us are in this. So that's definitely a high. But I have the burden on my shoulders, ultimately. I've made a lot of promises to investors, customers, to my employees that we're going to, make a dent in the universe. And I have to do that. And I love that challenge. On cycling, one high was today.
Riding with Tadej.
Riding at the wheel of Tadej. We did a recon of the World Championship route. We didn't do the whole 200 and something kilometers. We did about 100K. But we did all of the climbs in it, all of the main climbs, the city circuit as well as the Keyboard climb. Beautiful day. Some of my people were kind of pulling up to me saying, oh my God, what an amazing day. And I said, this is one of the best days of my life, riding with a human, a champion, and trying to, of course, I was redlining the whole time. Tadej felt like, I don't know, he was just kind of checking his phone. But anyway, that was one. And the second is, I've gotten into racing over the last couple of years.
Okay.
And with teams or individual and all of that. I guess I'm in the masters class now, the old guy groups. But we do this race here in Switzerland called Tour. It's kind of a crazy race. It's a team effort. We ride overnight with lights and 500 kilometers, 3 people on the road at any given time. This year's Tour was particularly a highlight for me. It was a very tough race. We competed against lots of pros, our team, and it was raining. So that's something I think that I'm going to remember for a long time. Some of my cycling highlights are from the recent times.
Oh, nice. Yeah, bit of type 2 fun in the rain, beasting yourself, but still
type 2 fun.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. But it's fun.
It is fun. And do you think the Zonclan will be fun? I've ridden up the backside of it before, the kind of non-classic side.
What do you consider to be the backside? The one that's kind of constant, or the side where it's really steep at the last 2-3 kilometers?
It's the side that's really steep the last 2. It's the older road, so it's not the kind of big bit that comes
from the ski resort to the top.
Yeah.
We did that. That's the one we did.
Okay. Yeah.
After I came back from that one, I changed my cassette in the back.
It was like riding up a multi-story car park. It's just insane.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Fahri, thank you so much for the chat. I appreciate we've also gone way over time, so it's really nice that you've shared that time with me. It's been really great.
Really, really, really enjoyed the dialogue, James.
Excellent. Nice one. And best of luck tomorrow and with the rest of 2024.
Thank you.
And Will, that was a lot from me, wasn't it? I know that you have listened to both of those interviews in your spare time. Probably several times, I imagine, because let's face it, don't get to speak to Pogačar every day. What did you make of the guy?
First of all, Fahri's got such a good voice. I was listening to that thinking this could be George Clooney on the other end of the line.
He has got an amazing... Do you ever think that people listen... I mean, we're right off the boil already, which is typical us, but do you ever think that people listen to themselves? But people will get heard like that and then be approached by voiceover companies, or might even think, having heard us say this, hey, maybe I've got a career in that. Because occasionally you do come across somebody and they just have a wonderful soothing voice, or like a really strong kind of, I don't know, powerful, charismatic voice. That's definitely Fahri. Anyway, I mean, they're not going to be coming knocking on our door anytime soon, let's be honest.
No, definitely not. The opposite. They'll be screaming, seeing me in the distance. No.
Yeah, clasping, putting their hands over their ears.
Pogačar is a very impressive young man. And I can say that because I'm older than him. So yeah, but that's irrelevant.
So significantly older.
Just how can he's so relaxed? He just seems such a chill guy.
Yeah.
It's like you got that, but then you switch it on and he's, But I guess that's probably helps, doesn't it?
It does. Do you think? And it struck me when there were all these various interviews with Pogačar after tour stages, and then with Vingegaard. Do you think it gets under Vingegaard's skin that Pogačar's so cool? And then do you think it makes it easier for Pogačar to be cool because he realises that it's a bit of a weapon?
Slightly. It also doesn't help Vingegaard because then people play off the he's a robot kind of thing, where actually it's just how it goes sometimes. Like Pogačar's saying, you don't really want to be, after a stage, sticking around for an hour doing interviews. It's like, I want to go home. Vingegaard's like, I need to talk to my wife on the phone. What are we doing? Don't want to talk to you. Just had a second baby. Congrats to him. His wife has, but he had part to play. But it doesn't help that Pogačar is so chill. Seems to take it all in his stride. Gets all the jersey things, and still doesn't matter. He's thinking I should be off eating my protein, having my beetroot shots, but no, I've got to speak to you. But then he goes and wins again.
It's true. And the thing that I find remarkable is kind of how frank he is about hating the media, but also can laugh about it. So there's that side of it. But in the way that he answers questions, I just completely believe him when he does just say, I don't know, I don't really let things like the Col de la Loze where he imploded I don't really let that affect me. I just kind of crack on, because sometimes you ask those questions or you hear people answering those questions and you're like, yeah, of course that's what you're going to say. You're not going to, I don't know, let yourself sort of sound weak in any way, particularly not in a sport like cycling. But I just genuinely think he just has reckless abandon. He doesn't care in like a really good way.
It doesn't sound like he's saying it because he's like media trained and he's answering the questions. He sounds like he's, that's just him. Did you ever, when you were climbing the Col de la Loze, did you ever, get on the radio to the photographer like, I'm gone, I'm dead? No, but except I'm actually dead. This is bloody hard.
No, but I did. There were a couple of times. So I rode this last year, I think. Yeah, no, I rode it before as a preview, which was in cycling, which was in Cyclist. Cycling is another website and magazine. No, in Cyclist, our magazine, a big ride where I went and rode that stage or parts of that stage with the Col de la Loze. And it's just insanely tough. And there's one bit where he sort of like sweeps around and goes to the trees. And I think it's around there that Pogačar, said, I'm dead, I'm gone. And you can totally see why, because almost as well, you come out of the trees and then you suddenly see what's left of the climb, which you're suddenly like, shit, I haven't even done any of it yet. It's completely soul destroying. And also what's mad is rewatching that stage, which I did a while ago, highlights from it. Like Vingegaard is just motoring in the bit where there's no trees. It's really bald, and he's just going through some hairpins, and he gets stuck in traffic, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He almost goes into the back of a motorbike.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who won the stage, but he could have potentially caught
Felix Gall,
very good. And he could have arguably caught him, but he got caught up in traffic. And to see him riding it like that is insane. And again, coming back to Pogačar, you just think how good Jonas Vingegaard is. And then how Pogačar just made, I mean, in the most respectful way, he made him look like an average rider, I think, in lots of instances. Not all of the instances, obviously. I know Vingegaard really shone in different areas, but just you just always felt like Pogačar just had something left in the tank. At any given time, he could have just turned it on and afterburners, and he's off.
It's hard to know, though, because it's one of those things that when was the last time we saw them both without, I think that he mentioned it as well, without something that was sort of hanging over them pre-tour.
He had a wrist injury, didn't he, in 23?
Exactly. And then Vingegaard had the big crash this year. And so it's like, if Pogačar's wrist injury did affect him, then, Vingegaard would definitely have affected him this year. But, I mean, he still looked pretty incredible. So next year, both fit, although there's hints that Vingegaard do the Giro, which would be like, come on, mate, let's just bugger everything off. Don't do any races. Just go straight into the Tour and let's just
give people what they want.
Yeah, let's just see mano a mano. Ignore the teams, bugger the teams off. Make it fair.
Exactly. Go back to the days where Tour de France was just privateers racing for 15 francs a day plus expenses.
Exactly.
Do you think he's going to be the greatest of all time, or do you think he already is the greatest of all time? What do you think he needs to do to become Le GOAT?
Well, it could be argued that I'm biased because I never watched Eddie Merckx ride a bike, and we've had discussions about Eddie Merckx's potentially dodgy side before, which, exists. But I think he is. But then, like he said, we obviously like to compare. We like to make statements. We can't. It's different. It's just so different now to what it used to be.
That is true. It is very different. But then there is something in the way that he manages to win monuments as well as, one-day races, as well as Grand Tours. It looks like he can kind of do everything in a way that when Peter Sagan came along, people said he could be like a Merckx, but realistically, he never really was going to, because he was just never the right kind of build for the mountains. Whereas Pogačar somehow manages to span both those things, both those areas, which I think could, in time, make him one of the very best, if not the best, because no one else does that really these days.
He keeps getting better. You sort of think when someone breaks through so early, especially with cycling's history of that not happening, you almost think like, well, is he going to be done by the time he's late 20s? But he just keeps getting better.
And also, would it be fair to say that as a team, I also really appreciate the fact that Pogačar still calls him Jumbo and then had to correct himself, just like me. But Visma Lease bike, in a sense, are sort of a more, and I mean this with the utmost respect to UAE, but they're like a militantly drilled, very scientific Team Sky type team, which kind of somehow in my mind makes Pogačar even more special, because it feels like UAE are maybe just like more of a kind of like passion racers racing team.
It kind of just felt like he's done it more on vibes, whereas the other ones like millimetre by millimetre, inch by inch.
Yeah,
kind of.
Which again in my mind makes him more likely, if at all, to get close to riders like Merckx, who are absolutely doing it by feel, because back in those days you were counting your heart rate by putting your fingers on your wrist.
Maybe that's the secret.
Maybe that is the secret. I'll tell you what the new secret is. It's HRV, heart rate variability. Yeah, that I'm petitioning for us to do an article on. Is HRV the new power? Because obviously heart rate came along, and then that was usurped by power meters, and power being this incredible kind of objective metric where it's just like, right, I'm riding at 400 watts. Nothing else needs to be said about that. That is what's happening. But HRV is sort of more to do with a kind of combination of heart rate, fitness, and a bit like VO2 max, where it's a better indicator perhaps of innate overall fitness or ability to be able to perform at a given time than power numbers, which you might be able to hit 400 watts really comfortably on a Monday, but then only be able to hit them with serious difficulty on Friday. So, but if you just look at the numbers, you never actually know and go, well, that rider's just performing at the same level kind of thing. Whereas HLV apparently allows you to get a better gauge on how a rider is and is likely to perform. So I can't tell you any more than that because it's quite complicated, but it's to do with the speed, the gaps in between your heartbeats, basically. So it's like measured in like milliseconds, I think.
That is interesting. There's also an interesting feature coming in Cyclist which is relevant to Tadej Pogačar, about altitude training.
Oh, there is. Yeah. Very relevant. That was something I was going to say, actually, because in that article, it's got stuff on carbon monoxide, and that was something else they asked Pogačar about, and he was just like, I don't know anything about that. If that's what Vingegaard's doing, then good luck to him. But carbon monoxide, apparently, and that's not putting a clamping of jaw over a car exhaust, although I'm sure that would also work, but it is inhaling carbon monoxide, which apparently binds to your hemoglobin. Anyone who smokes, I used to smoke, there's no shame in admitting that, will know that if you have a fag, then you are you're suddenly way more wheezy or out of breath, and that's because the carbon monoxide binds to your hemoglobin and prevents you from carrying oxygen molecules on those little hemoglobin molecules. So you're kind of like able to carry and process less oxygen. Carbon monoxide does the same thing in this kind of laboratory type way, in the way it's administered. But what that does is it kind of kickstarts the body into producing more hemoglobin to compensate for the fact its current batch of red blood cells aren't working very well because the carbon monoxide molecule is stuck to them and getting in the way of the oxygen molecule. So that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. You're telling me, I was under the impression they just still went up and they just popped out a cigarette and just away they went. Telling me that's not how
they might do that. More athletes smoke than you'd realise.
Mm.
That's my takeaway from seeing Zinedine Zidane on the balcony of a hotel the night before France.
Yeah, but he's different though, isn't he? He's just pure panache.
Yeah, apparently Fabien Barthez and Laurent Blanc used to smoke fags at half time when they played for United, and they were just like left alone because everyone's just like, that's what French people do.
Yeah.
And that's mental, isn't it? Because that was like early 2000s. It's not even very long ago.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't happen now.
I don't know. I still think you'd be surprised.
Not in the changing rooms.
Rooney was
maybe
smoking.
when they're off season.
Maybe in their off season, yeah. And apparently, like free divers used to smoke because it was thought that it increased your lung capacity. This is kind of crazy, isn't it? But maybe it did, because maybe in this kind of
works the same way.
Yeah, it works the same way. It's created more red blood cells, and then when you stopped, pow, your hemoglobin, your hematocrit levels through the roof. Job's a good one. So anyway, we've really strayed into territory that we know little about, so you should probably just buy the magazine, and there's a really good article on altitude training heat adaptation and a bit about carbon monoxide and how
It's not out yet, though.
it's not out yet. So what you're saying? You're telling me it's not out yet?
But it won't be, will it? When the podcast comes out?
It might be. Depends when you listen to it, doesn't it?
Ain't that the truth, yeah.
Ain't that the truth? Exactly. Well, I don't know. No, it won't. If you're listening to this on Thursday, the day that Cyclist Magazine Podcast drops, then yes, the magazine won't be out. It will be out a week after. So there you go. You might have to wait. And if you have listened this far, then congratulations, because there have been elements of our chat in the last 10 minutes that, let's face it, even I might want edited out. So we'll see if they stay in. But as Will said at the top of the show, it's been a long week.
Yeah.
But it's been a good week. Has it been a good week for you, Will, do you reckon? On a scale of 1 to 10?
6.57?
6.57?
Just sort of trundle along in a lot of ways. This weekend and next week is a bigger week for me. So I've sort of been anticipating more than like living this week.
Yeah, no, fair. I mean, yeah, you're living in that state. You're living in the future, aren't you? You've got a bit of anxiety about you, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm also on Saturday, which is the day after we record this. I'm going to be doing the swim Serpentine.
Really?
Yeah, swimming 2 miles in the Serpentine Lake. So,
Gosh, 2 miles is quite far.
yeah,
Are you feeling good about that?
it's going to happen. It's going to be a bit chillier than we were hoping for, but
Do you have to wear a wetsuit?
don't have to. You can have a toe float instead, but I'm wearing a wetsuit because, why wouldn't you? Cold, wet,
Bit of buoyancy helps you swim faster.
buoyancy, exactly. That's the one. That's what you like.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'd say I've had a pretty good week, despite the disappointment of Switzerland. Because look, I've got some new gloves, sealskins gloves, and guess who was spotted wearing these exact same pair of gloves last week?
Was it Liam Gallagher?
Yeah, it was Liam Gallagher.
How did I guess that?
Liam Gallagher is your answer to all questions, and it had to work eventually. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
So Liam Gallagher, he's into his technical fibres and his waterproof membranes, and he's also mad for it. So hopefully he'll be wearing. That's why you never see his hands. They're always clasped behind his back because they're wearing.
Yeah.
He's got sealskins gloves, and he doesn't want to advertise because they're not paying him yet. But maybe they're paying him now, which is why we both know that he's been wearing them.
Or maybe he's got he does it for circulation, which leads into why he would wear the sealskins.
I do it for my circulation. I clasp my hands behind the small of my back. A bit like that.
That was a bit more Stone Roses than Oasis.
Was it? Go on. And Will's actually a recording artist. What's your recording artist name? Will you can find him on Spotify for real?
No.
Go on.
You'll be able to find me. If you can Google, you'll be able to find it. If you listen this far.
Okay. Well, if you listen to this far, go on then. Give me your best, Liam.
All right. Not bad.
And
What else are you going to do?
Singing something. Sing me your favourite Oasis song.
No. What even is it? What even is your favourite Oasis song?
Is that one of their songs? What even is it? It could be,
Yeah.
couldn't it?
Just the one with lasagna. That's one of them. That was the one where they're trying to take the piss out of Blur, but it didn't really work.
Didn't really work. Can't take the piss out of Blur because Alex James is busy making cheese. So he's already gone so far off the wall. How do you take the piss out of a man making cheese? It's a
That is
great
true.
pastime.
Talking about impressions, James, you've got a good one, Sean Connery.
Oh, I do. What time does Sean Connery like to go to Wimbledon?
I don't know.
About 10ish. And that's a wrap. Goodbye.